Hello and welcome back to Chiefsman's Corner Live. I will be interacting via YouTube chat if you are watching live, as well as Discord if you wish to join the show live. If you do join the show live, though, please mute yourself as you come into the network. I'm your host, Coach Winuvas, one of the leadership team here in WFL as the Indianapolis Colts. And you may notice I have a co-host this evening. My cat Ruse decided to sit here by my shoulder to make sure that everything goes smoothly. And if she doesn't go smoothly, she will let me know. This show will go over Week 1 scores, and instead of players of the podcast, I have a bit of extra news provided to us by one of our leadership that I'm going to call AJ's Around the WFL, and then finish out with our Ask the Chiefs segment as usual. If anyone is tuned in, welcome aboard and leave comments for me to interact with. If you're watching this at any time, though, thank you for watching. Any and all support is appreciated. Without you guys, the WFL community doesn't exist. As my cat has decided this is the time to mess with me. This is the beauty of a live show, guys. Okay, let go of my shirt. Yeah, let go of my shirt, Goober. You're making the show go long. The first thing I want to talk about tonight, as always, is the WFL's incentive plan. The incentive plan allows you to get some perks that aren't available for every member simply by doing some extracurricular activities that involve WFL. Anything from Twitter to articles on the Neon Sports site to commenting or participating in this show, even chatting in Discord can earn you points. Anything that makes the WFL a more immersive experience and increases its presence in the Madden community earns you some sort of credit. A link to the incentive plan is available using the command /incentive plan, that is all one word, /incentive plan, in Discord. Yes, I have a cat, sir. I have a bunch of cats. To tie into the incentive plan mentioned just now, we have an open team in the AFC East, the New York Jets. We actually just filled our Buffalo Bills spot that was open as well. Be aware that getting a recruit in that makes at least 4 games played in the league will earn you big incentive points at season's end. The next thing to talk about is our form, the Ask the Chief form. Is this your non-sociable cat or a different one? This is a different one. My non-sociable cat is outside in another mother-in-law suite that we have on premises. This is one of my, she left. One of my 14 cats that I have in the house. And yes, I realize that's crazy. To get back to it, Ask the Chief, use the form during the week to submit questions for me to answer during the show. You get credit for asking a question. It's an easy way to build up incentive points and provide extra content for the podcast. You can use the command /AskTheChief, all one word, /AskTheChief, to pull up the form in Discord. With all the housekeeping out of the way, we will get this show on the road by pulling up our Week 1 schedule right now. Here we go. Here it is. And we'll start with the Steelers beating the Saints 31-17. A 17-point second quarter gave Key all the room he needed to put this one away. Third-year cornerback LaMarcus Walters provides 2 of Pittsburgh's 3 total interceptions, while Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt combined for 2 sacks and 3 tackles for loss. Newly acquired running back Rachaad White did find pay dirt in his Saints debut, finishing with a stat line of 13 carries for 53 yards. And as we move on to the next game on the docket, we have the Cincinnati Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens beating the Bengals 45-24 in his first action since being named to the WFL Season 11 All-Pro team. Quarterback Lamar Jackson led TJ Maxx Ravens to victory in Cincinnati over Russ's Bengals. Jackson only threw the ball 18 times, but he completed 15 of those attempts for 249 yards and 3 touchdowns. Although it was in a losing effort, free agent acquisition Terry McLaurin hauled in 3 catches for 115 yards and a touchdown in his first action as a Bengal. Moving on to the overtime game. The Colts beating the Cowboys in overtime, 27-24. It did take overtime to decide a winner, but Colts did just that, win. Indy had 2 different receivers post 100-plus yards during the game. Adonai Mitchell had 5 catches for 114 yards, and Jameson Williams had 6 catches for 102 yards. On Dallas' side, I know it's early, but this may be one of, if not the best 2-prong rushing attack in the league. Running backs Deontay Foster and Ramondre Stevenson combined for 177 yards on 27 carries and a touchdown. And as somebody who got ran on by that duo, I dare say if Lamigra can get that duo going game in and game out, he is going to be a tough out for any team here. Next game on the docket as we rotate down, the Bears and the Patriots. The Bears overcome the Patriots 23-7. Caleb Williams has a new favorite target, and his name is Tyreek Hill. In his Bears debut, Tyreek caught 8 passes for 176 yards and 2 touchdowns. His teammate DJ Moore caught 7 passes for 99 yards in his own right. In what was a quiet day for the Patriots offensive unit, quarterback Drake May did connect with veteran wideout Amari Cooper for a touchdown pass in the 23-7 win by the Bears there. As we move on to the next game, a little bit of a barn burner between CPU Buffalo and the Lions. Det Fan started his Season 12 campaign with a 4-point win over Josh Allen and the Bills on the road. While it was a rough day at the office for quarterback Justin Fields, running back Jahmyr Gibbs made up for it by scoring 2 rushing touchdowns to go along with 82 rushing yards on 16 carries. Our Dolphins and Chiefs game was a simulated game. It was a fair sim. They had a disconnect late in the game, but the final score ended up being Miami 35, Kansas City 29. As we move on to the other CPU game on the docket for this week, not sim, but CPU game, we have the Vikings beating the Jets 35-10. The reigning WFL Bowl champions start their title defense with a strong opening week victory against the New York Jets. J.J. McCarthy for the Vikings efficiently distributed the ball, completing 19 of 24 pass attempts for 221 yards and 3 touchdowns. On defense, edge rusher Dallas Turner logged 2.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and returned that fumble for a 54-yard touchdown to pace the unit in their rout of the Jets, Jets. Excuse me, in a defensive battle. 12-10 was your finals. The Panthers beat the Packers. If you're into defensive battles, this game was for you. Carolina escaped with a victory thanks to a last-second field goal by rookie kicker Thomas Wilson. The Panthers' defensive unit tallied 4 sacks and 2 interceptions, while Green Bay's defense held Carolina to just 203 yards of offense in total. Next game on the docket, Rams and 49ers in an NFC West matchup. Almost said AFC West matchup, sorry. 49ers do get beat by the Rams 31-10, your final here. The Rams jumped out early in this battle of NFC West foes and rode a strong defensive performance to the end for the Week 1 victory. Number 1 overall pick, Dominique Nails made his WFL debut with 3 total tackles and 1 deflection. It was a quiet day for the offense. The 49ers' 2 standout players were linebackers Alex Singleton and, of course, as always, Fred Warner. The linebacker duo combined for 27 total tackles, along with 1 tackle for loss and 1 deflection. Our other simulated game due to a disconnect was the Browns having a 3-point win over the Jacksonville Jaguars, 20-17, your final here. Not much to talk about with this one because it was a simulated game. Next game on the docket, Falcons and Eagles. And the clash between 2 NFC heavyweights saw T-Who's Eagles outlast Studley's Falcons in Atlanta. The touchdowns from Bryce Huff and Cooper DeJean helped pace the Eagles' defensive unit, which also managed to hold Bijan Robinson to just 18 total rushing yards. That is an impressive feat. On the Falcons side, rookie wideout Jose Feliz made quite the impact in his debut, bringing in 3 receptions for 97 yards and a touchdown. Next game, what could be maybe a little bit of an upset, perhaps? Game of the week action from Week 1 ended up being the Giants beating the Commanders by 7. It was a CPU play as the Commanders couldn't make the game, so the Giants chose to play the Commanders CPU. So just kind of bring that up to snuff on that one. The Panthers-Packers game was a defensive struggle, but if you like offensive shootouts, this game was definitely for you. Both teams put up nearly 1,000 yards of offense combined for the G-men. Rookie receivers Arnold Owens and Theo Johnson both tallied 100-plus receiving yards, with Owens also bringing in 3 receiving touchdowns. And then we have the Broncos and Cardinals with a 31-10 victory by the Broncos over the Cardinals. WFL Bowl Season 10 winner Crazy Fast welcomed Johnny P1's Cardinal squad to the Mile High City with that 31-10 victory. It was close early, but once the Broncos got going, they maintained firm control. Running back Javonte Williams paced the offense with 18 carries for 117 yards, while newly signed free agent Jalen Ramsey hauled in his first pick of the season. In our penultimate game on the docket, we have the Chargers and Raiders in an AFC West matchup as Smash Mouth's Bolts win by 10, 38-28. They're a run first. The Bolts are run first, run often style offense, and that's exactly what he did in this game. Tevin Claiborne, the Thunder, rushed for 125 yards on 14 carries and scored 2 rushing touchdowns, while newest Charger Devon Achane, Lightning, tallied 61 yards on 13 carries. For the Raiders, tight end Brock Bowers continued to show how dynamic of a weapon he is by catching 6 passes for 146 yards and a touchdown. And in the last game on the docket, one of our newer members, the Bucks, get their first win of Season 12 over the Seahawks 30-27. This NFC battle was an absolute show between 2 quarterbacks. We're taken in the top 10 of the most recent WFL drafts. On Tampa Bay side, second-year signal caller Deontay Porter completed 20 of 27 pass attempts for 290 yards and 2 touchdowns. His counterpart for the Seahawks, Rookie quarterback Kevin Walton finished his debut with a passing stat line of 18 of 26, 252 yards, and 3 touchdowns. In the end, the Bucs came out on top. Of watching these two quarterbacks will be a treat for years to come. Did I skip? Oh, I believe in editing this. Yeah, I did skip it. My bad. I'm sorry. I did skip Titans and Texans. Thank you for pointing that out. We're going to scroll back up, guys. That wasn't the last game. I lied. We're actually going to scroll back up to Houston and Tennessee. I did skip over them. Not intentionally, mind you. It's not like I'm mad about the Texans beating me by 2 this week. Titans beat the Texans 24-21. Hey, stop me if you've heard this one before in the WFL. Will Levis leads the Titans down the field for a game-winning drive. You didn't hear that in real life, but you do hear that in the WFL quite a bit. That is exactly what Cooley's quarterback did after connecting with Mecole Hardman for a clutch pass to put the Titans on the doorstep of the end zone. Running back Tony Pollard punched it in to put the Titans up by 3. For the Texans, linebacker Azeez Al-Shahir had himself a day. He finished the game with 8 total tackles and 2 interceptions. So I did miss somebody. I do apologize for that. And some other things to go over from week 1. A couple of injuries to report. Braxton Jones is going to be out for the next month with a knee cartilage tear. It's a rough loss for that offensive line for the Bears. Bengals have a couple of injuries to report in. Logan Wilson at outside linebacker is going to be out a month with broken ribs. Daxon Hill is day-to-day with a high ankle sprain, and cornerback DJ Turner is also day-to-day with a back strain. So his cornerback class was a little bit weakened in week 1. Hopefully they'll be back for week 2. For the Broncos, a pulled groin has Drew Sanders, their stud middle linebacker, out for the next month. Hopefully they can withstand that loss for a little while and get him back into the mix. Buccaneers did lose somebody in their win against the Seahawks. They lose Bucky Irving to a dislocated ankle for about 4 to 6 weeks. Cardinals lose free agent signing Christian Kirk to broken ribs for 4 to 6 weeks. The Chiefs lose Xavier Worthy to a high ankle sprain for a week or 2 and lose cornerback Nick Jones for a week or 2 as well due to some injuries it's sustained in practice. For the Colts, in week 1, they lost their starting young left tackle Matt Goncalves, who tore his labrum. He'll be out for a month. Luckily, we have Jake Matthews, a veteran standout, to help us along with that. We also have Anthony Gould at wide receiver, who is day-to-day as well. And as I do realize now that I'm not on camera for this, so let me get on camera to read you the injury report. Cowboys had a couple injuries in their game. Jake Ferguson hurt himself in practice. He's day-to-day with a high ankle sprain. Tyler Smith is also day-to-day with a high ankle sprain. A couple of long-term injuries. Mozzie Smith tore his labrum. He'll be out for a month. And Raekwon O'Neal at offensive tackle dislocated his shoulder. He'll be out a couple of weeks. For the Patriots, they lost Alfonso Torrens at edge for a month due to a broken thumb. The Ravens had a couple of practice injuries that hurt them week 1. Marlon Humphrey at corner and Joe Evans at outside linebacker. Both of those were either a high ankle sprain for Humphrey and a shoulder strain for Joe Evans. For the Texans, they lost Drew Dalman for a couple of weeks due to a broken finger. That interior offensive line suffers a little bit. And then they lost edge rusher Dylan Horton day-to-day with a PCL strain. And finally, to finish out the injury report, Walter Rouse at outside tackle for the Vikings is day-to-day with a hip pointer. So a little bit of practice squad blues for most guys, but there's a couple of long-term injuries to report on there as we move forward. And that's going to do it for the injury report. That is AJ's Around the WFL. Thank you to Austin for doing that for us, giving us a little bit of vibrancy, a little bit of different way to present our week 1 setup. So as I get that going, let me actually get stuff right here for a second. Turn that off. There we go. That's the beauty of a live broadcast when you didn't have time to prepare because you had a cat in your face. That's what happens. So let's go ahead and get these Ask the Chief questions going. Let me get them blown up real quick. And these are going to be fairly easy Ask the Chief questions. Thank you for that, by the way. I do appreciate that. So let's bring them back on camera right now. Boop, there we go. So let's bolden them up a little bit because I can't see that all that well, and I'm pretty sure you can't either. So let's go ahead and shrink over here. Det Fan, what's with these Game of the Week shenanigans? Detroit should never be a Game of the Week participant unless it's real life, of course. I don't make the voting. That is voted on by the folks in WFL, the coaches in WFL. So if they voted for Bears and Lions to be Game of the Week, they voted for Bears and Lions to be Game of the Week. I don't control any of that. That is entirely upon your fellow coaches. You need to yell at them for putting you in Game of the Week. That's kind of like putting me in Game of the Week action. There's no point. I'm going to lose. So there we go. So that answers that question. Cardoni brings us a couple of questions as well as I bring him back up. Who is your dark horse Super Bowl favorite? Is it okay to say the Browns, even though they went to the playoffs last year? I think they went to the playoffs last year. Did they not? I think dark horse AFC, I would have to say Browns because I've seen the dude play. And he was here for a little bit and left due to some family circumstances and then came back. Luckily, we got him back. I think the Browns are going to be tough. You guys are in trouble in the AFC. Wait, I'm in the AFC. Oh, no, I'm in trouble too. But I'm always in trouble. So the Browns in the AFC. In the NFC, I'm going to say, although Clyde's not really a dark horse, he's kind of one of our better users. But his first user year, he struggled a little bit. I think now, though, he's got Pat Daniels on a good trajectory. His rookie quarterback from year one is now in his third season. I think he's got him kind of weathered the storm a little bit. So I think the Giants might be somebody I'd pick as a dark horse, even though that's not really a dark horse pick. That's the one I'm going to go with. And then the other question that Cardoni asks, do you find it harder to defend the pass or the run? Personally, for me, I find it harder to defend the pass because I am a terrible user. So I don't play safety. I don't really play linebacker all that well. I don't really play end all that well. I really just don't play all that well. So from a user standpoint, I would say pass. From a scheme standpoint, because the game can just be goofy at times, I would say the run. So user skill, pass. Scheme wise, just play calling tendencies and things of that nature, run for me. So basically, that's a nice way of me saying I suck on defense, I suck on offense. There you go. Kind of keep my brain going. And then Too Cold asks, how would you rate the sim season we did, and are you confident it will be a good format for WFL, playing than simming? So I'm glad that question did come up because I didn't mention it in my intro. But guys, I did mention it in my announcement for the podcast today. Please fill out that sim season survey that Polio's done for us. That's not one that I've done. That's one that Polio did for us that he kind of ran by me and I said, that looks good. Go ahead and send it out. Because we will use that as feedback because this past sim season was the very first time we've ever done something like this. And there's only one or two owners that are currently in the league that ever had experience with it, and I'm not one of them. So this was a brand new frontier for a lot of us. So I think keeping that in mind, I think on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being perfection, it was not a 10. I, though, will give it a pretty solid 7, 7.5. Because I think we did a really good job of making sure we kept everybody on point and on purpose as much as we could. I think we stepped in as leadership whenever we saw a couple of owners not pulling their weight and go ahead and make sure that those teams were taken care of through the sim season, which put a strain on those leaders, myself and Polio, who took over the Chiefs and Jets during that offseason to make sure that the CPU wouldn't screw them up too badly for a new user to come in. So I think with that being said, there is room for improvement. There's always room for improvement. But I think for our first sim season, I think we did really well. And I think we'll only do better from here on out. And I do think based on the feedback we have gotten from some of the forums that I've seen, a majority of the guys that have responded, which to be fair is not a lot. I think last I heard there was like 7 surveys that were submitted. But of those 7 surveys, most all of them I believe were positive. So that's always a good thing. I think guys really like seeing their rookies progress. I think they really enjoyed having drafts back-to-back weeks, basically. I think it was nice to see the team building aspect of it kick in. And the ultimate goal of it was to make sure that contracts actually matter. Now, side note, and this is a little bit of a tangent, we are aware that the contracts are starting to balloon a little bit. We are working behind the scenes for a potential remedy. I don't feel comfortable discussing what we're discussing, but we are discussing it. And when we come to some sort of consensus amongst the leadership team, we will push that out to you. Okay, so right now we are still kind of in the very early planning stages, but we do know that we do see the fact that numbers for like quarterback for all positions really are really jumping up there really quickly. Um, but I think we're trying to come up with a decent plan. That I like I said I don't want to give too much because I don't want to give hope to some people that like if I say something and they're like, "Ooh, I really like that idea," and we don't ultimately do it. I don't want to disappoint people, but we are discussing a couple of different options on how to deal with that moving forward. And as soon as we kind of figure out how we want to deal with it, we will. But as far as the sim season, I think it was a well run success. I think it's a credit to everyone here for being on point. I mean, the majority of you guys were plugged in during a time when you consider that due to some issues, we had a longer than normal play season playoffs, which made our sim season feel longer. So we were off for about 3 weeks for some of us that didn't get in the playoffs. Um, so that's something I would like to not have happen as much because right now, as it stands, the way we have the plan set up, it is a 13-day run from the start of when the day after the WFL Bowl ends. It's 13 days for us to get to the next play season. That's basically us ripping and running through one off season, simulating that simulation season, simulating the bowl game, hopefully getting the bowl game to where everybody can watch it as it like a simulated event, so everybody can participate and kind of watch and see what's going on. And then getting to the new season, getting through that all season. And I will tell you from a leadership standpoint, boy howdy, y'all know me. Y'all know how I feel about playing games. I can't tell you I was ready to play some games. I'm not ready to play anymore, but I was ready to play some games after about 3 weeks of doing nothing but editing players. So from a leadership standpoint, it was quite exhausting, but you guys did make the process as good as it possibly could be. Our new leadership that we've added since we had the debacle during the last playoffs, losing a member that I'm not going to name because he basically cheated, and then losing Juke to basically kind of step away to have more time with family, which I totally support and I'm totally cool with. And then we had Lamigra also step down due to being busy with real life stuff. So we had 3 leadership that stepped out. One we kicked out, but the other 2 stepped away, due to real life stuff. So we had to basically adapt on the fly and bring in, although we brought in Austin Jackson while we still had those other leaders. So he was there kind of as a floater, but he's become a real integral part of the leadership team now and has done a phenomenal job. Chilkey has come in and as a guy who basically someone in leadership said, "Hey, make him a leader." And I was like, "Really?" And I did, and you know what? I'm happy to eat crow on that. He's been phenomenal since he's been in here. He's been doing great work with scheduling and being active and just chit-chatting with folks. So he has been a breath of fresh air, and seeing all the work that we're doing in the leadership squad, we're really in a pretty solid place. I would probably, if we have somebody that's a candidate, I would like to add one more contender to give us a roundabout number of 6. But I want to get us full first and see what kind of candidates we have before I'd add somebody. But right now, our team of 5 is really, really rocking right now, and I can't say enough good things about them. So, they've just came in and knocked it out and given me a chance to do some things. Again, tangent again. We've got a brand new big board. I've done the big board completely redone from scratch. There's actually going to be, once we get it through a test run, I've actually got somebody in another league I've given a copy of the document to. I want them to kind of guinea pig test it and see how it works. But if it works out well, we've actually got a separate document based on the big board that'll be available to incentive members. We haven't decided what incentive tier yet, but there'll be a document that's only for certain incentives that we'll provide on top of the big board. The big board's free for everybody. We're never gonna put that behind an incentive wall of any kind. But for the special scouting report stuff, we are gonna put that behind an incentive wall. So just a heads up, if you start hearing about stuff like that, you might want to get that incentive so you can get that extra scouting boost from old Buckman. But I've been able to design a new big board. I've been able to work on forms for the simulated season, for the play season, because guys have just been guys have just been coming in and helping out with leadership so much that I've been able to take a step back and not have to I don't want to say do as much, but I haven't had to be at the forefront of a lot of things because these guys are just doing and taking the ball and running with it so well that I'm able to kind of be more CEO-like and be able to kind of handle some of the boring admin stuff that nobody likes to do, like, the spreadsheets and the forms and all that stuff. So being able to do that and be able to make sure everything is working on that front and make sure everything is up to date, that's been nice to be able to do and not have to worry about dealing with the day-to-day stuff because we're shorthanded or somebody's not able to take care of something. Everybody right now in leadership is pulling their weight, and I just it's really a nice place to be. But yeah, we are definitely going to do play sim. I don't think it's going to go away unless we just have a colossal failure the next time around, and I don't think we're going to let that happen. I think we set ourselves up for the best way to succeed in this past environment. Did we do perfect? No. But I think we did a damn fine job, to be fair. I think there's definitely some places we can improve. We're talking about how to improve that. We're talking about how to streamline the process even more to make it that much quicker. So be aware that the next one's going to be hopefully smoother than this one was. If you thought this one was rough or was rough around the edges, the next one will be smoother. And if you felt this one was smooth, the next one's going to be even better, I feel like. But I don't think it's going away unless we have just a wide swath of surveys that say, no, take it away. I think a lot of guys enjoyed it and kind of got in it. It was nice to get a little bit of a Madden break, to be fair, because having a week or two off where you don't play any games, sometimes that kind of kills the league, can kill the league activity a little bit. But I think it helped us out because it got us energized because we wanted to use all those new players we got. That's kind of where I was at, and also I ended up with a new team in the meantime. I ended up on the Colts because Juke left, so I took the Colts over. So I got a new team, new things to play with, new tools, new things to figure out, all that good stuff. But that was it for the questions, and I really rambled on that last one. So thank you, Cole, for that question because it allowed me to talk a little bit about that. But with that, I think we're just going to go ahead and we're going to call this a wrap. I think it's been a long enough podcast, don't you? So guys, thank you for tuning in, whether you tuned in live or with the recording. I appreciate it. The WFO community appreciates it. We hope you're entertained by the show. Yeah, Jordan, no, we're not ready to go back to ORP yet. No, let's let a play season play. Let us know about the show by throwing us a like, a subscribe, leaving comments. Any feedback on the show, good or bad, is always appreciated. And until next week, I will say actually next week might be a little bit of a hard one to get to. If I do, it will be a recorded one because I start my Thanksgiving break that week for work. So I will be on Thanksgiving break. So will the wife. So getting a time frame to get the podcast in might be a little bit tough. But I think she's going to be out of town Monday. So I'll try and get a podcast in on Monday, at least a recorded version. So you guys will have some content as we go into the Thanksgiving holidays. But any good, any feedback. And like I said, until the next time I run the show, which is hopefully going to be next Monday, the corner, it's closed.